Welcome, and thank you for standing by. At this time, all lines are in a listen-only mode. During our question and answer session, you can ask a question by pressing *1 and recording your name when prompted. This conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect. And now let's turn today's conference over to Ms. Dubis Correal. You may begin.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Financial Education Webinar Series for library staff. I'm Dubis Correal.
And I'm Dan Rutherford.
And I'm Lori Burgess.
I'm Julie DeCesare.
And I'm Heather Pelham.
Go ahead.
We are with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's Office of Financial Education. Today's webinar is part of an ongoing educational series to help library staff learn more about financial education so they can develop better programs and feel more comfortable talking about these issues. This is a special webinar, and we have some special guests joining us to discuss how to better market or promote your financial education programs. Then we'll introduce our guests in a moment, but as you heard, we have a couple of librarians on the line. We're very excited to have you, and they're going to talk to you about their financial education programs. This will be a very interactive webinar with plenty of time for questions and answers, and we will open the phone lines when we're ready to hold discussions, and when you're speaking, please tell us your name and organization. Also, we wanted to let you know that the webinar will be recorded, so your questions and comments will be recorded too.
It generally takes a few weeks for us to review and post these recordings, so we ask that you please be patient. We will post the video in the Library Resources section of our website. The web address is on the screen. On that page, you'll also see a list of our upcoming webinar topics. We plan to hold these webinars on a monthly basis, and the format should be fairly consistent with today's presentation. So if you haven't already done so, please send us your contact information to financialeducation@cfpb.gov and ask to be added to our email list. If you add library webinars or something similar to the subject line, we'll make sure to include you in future updates and announcements.
This is the 7th webinar in our series and our first panel discussion with librarians. We hope to do this more frequently on other topics that might be of interest. So please let us know what you think of today's webinar. Or if you have any questions or want us to offer feedback, please email us at financialeducation@cfpb.gov. Also, we have made some adjustments to our webinar schedule to accommodate this and other special webinars in the future. So please check our website often, or if you haven't already done so, ask to be added to our email list, and we'll be sure to remind you of upcoming webinars. But before we get started, we will just like to do a little promotion of our own. Please remember to visit our library resources, consumerfinance.gov/library-resources, to order free financial education materials and promotional materials, so you'll have them in time for Money Smart Week and Financial Literacy Month in April. On our free print materials page, you can order up to 1,000 copies of most publications and have them delivered straight to your library at no cost. Print materials range from informational booklets to worksheets, and they come from the CFPB as well as the Federal Trade Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Department of Labor. So all our federal partners, some of our federal partners have materials that you can order for free. You can also download screensavers, web banners, and buttons on our marketing materials page. Print orders may require up to 6 weeks for delivery, so be sure to order your materials today so you can get them in time for your financial education programs in April. Also, we wanted to mention Money Smart Week. A few of our panelists today will be talking about their work during Money Smart Week. For those of you who may not know, Money Smart Week is a public awareness campaign created by the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago and designed to help consumers better manage their personal finances. This is achieved through the collaboration and coordinated effort of hundreds of organizations across the country. This year's Money Smart Week will be from April 18th to the 25th. If you don't participate in Money Smart Week and would like to, you can contact Michael Dowling with the American Library Association or visit moneysmartweekpartners.org, and you'll see the website on the slide. You can download Money Smart Week logos and promotional materials, and you can register your library and share your events. Both the CFPB and the American Library Association are National Money Smart Week partners.
And now we'd like to introduce today's special panel of librarians. Please welcome Lori Burgess, Support Services Coordinator, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin Public Library; Julie DeCesare, Assistant Professor and Commons Librarian, Head of Research and Education at Phillips Memorial Library in Providence College; and Heather Pelham, Public Services Librarian, Georgetown Public Library. Each librarian will provide a brief introduction and talk about one of her most successful financial education programs and what promotional efforts help make it so. After that, we will have a brief discussion that we hope will stimulate some questions in your minds, and finally we'll turn the discussion over to you for a question and answer session that we hope will address all of your questions. So with that, I will turn it over to Lori Burgess. Lori?
Hi, thank you, and I'd like to thank the CFPB for asking us to present today. So I'd like to talk about Money Smart Week in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. That's my library. And what I have found, we've been participating in Money Smart Week since 2007. And in 2010, we were also a Smart Investing at Your Library grantee. So we've done quite a bit of financial literacy work over the last several years. And one of the things that I found is that you kind of need three things for successful events. And one is the place for the events, which is obviously the library, finding instructors because I don't feel qualified to present, so we need some partners, and then, of course, getting the participants, which is what we're going to be talking about today. One of the best tips that I have heard is that titling your event is so important. If you look at typical financial education programs, they're kind of boring. So you have to make them attractive. How I saved $40,000 in less than a year? Gosh, I want to go to that. Pimp your ride? Teens want to hear about that. Estate planning? Not so much. But so be very careful in how you title your programs. It's so important. We have also found, as a side note on there, that stacking your programs, having them in succession, like one at 10 and one at 11, people will stay for that second hour if they came to the first. So next, that's mainly for adults, titling great programs, but also get families talking. We have a program called The Big Read where it's a family story time. Libraries do story times all the time. So we have a program for Money Smart Week where we give away a free financial literacy book to families, and we model good read-to-me behavior. So parents sit on the floors with the kids, and they're reading the book along with the librarian who's reading the book at the head of the room. And that's been really great. So our hope is that kids will keep asking. They'll have this book at home. They'll ask their parents, oh, read this book to me. How do we spend our money? How do we save our money? And that's kind of the point with all of our children's financial literacy programs, whether it's our Dollar Design or a treasure hunt or even Scout Night. It gets kids talking to their parents about money. So some of the marketing that we do is pretty much typical of what every library does. Of course we do displays. We make bookmarks. We have our regular calendar of events, both online and in paper as a bookmark form. But for Money Smart Week, we go the extra step. Because we have community partners, we're able to fund an insert in our free local paper. It's just a twice-a-week paper, and you can see on the slide the Money Smart Week events. All of those events happen at the library, and we see people carrying that insert around and circling which programs they want to come to. So that's really great, but we can't afford to do that on our own. It takes community partners. And when we have those partners, it's great because they then are presenting at the library and they put it on their electric signs all over town. So that's really a lot of fun, and it's good to see the library being advertised around town. And don't forget to register your events on moneysmartweek.org. The Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago is trying to promote Money Smart Week nationally, and there's a map on this site that you can click on your state to find events in your area. If nothing's listed, well, that's one more missed opportunity, and it's free, so what the heck. So finally, some first steps if you're just starting some financial education programs. Do the easy stuff first. Make a poster, make some bookmarks, put up a display, put the posters and the bookmarks on the display, put all your bookmarks at all of your service desks, promote it on your web page and social media. That's a great way just to get started.
Great. Thank you, Lori. Next up is Julie DeCesare. Julie?
Hi, my name is Julie DeCesare, and I've been a co-coordinator for Money Smart Week for the Rhode Island Library Association since 2012. And like Lori was mentioning, I think we kind of fall very similar in how we're trying to get these events out to the Rhode Island community. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is my role with marketing Money Smart Week events on the Providence College campus. I'll talk a little bit more about what we did statewide, but we did want to bring some Money Smart Week events to an undergraduate community. And so while my marketing was a little bit more controlled in that area, I feel like these are tips that can be used really with any library programming event and for Money Smart Week or financial literacy programs. So we did things a little bit differently. There is a slide that says Money Smart Week events at PC, and it's a list of the different events that we had. We kept the dates and the times very rigid. These are undergraduate students. This was close to finals. They had a lot of things on their plate, and we wanted to pull out topics that they would really find interesting. So the most popular one we had was called What Are You Worth? Salary Negotiation for Grads. And we were really lucky to have a headhunter volunteer their time to come and talk to undergraduate students about salary negotiation and what that means. So what we did in order to promote it was we partnered with our Career Education Center. They have a very active LinkedIn community as well as Facebook and Twitter. They do a lot of drop-in sessions for students, and we ask them to hand out postcards and just market any Money Smart Week events within the Career Education Center, as well as the marketing that we were doing in the library. We put out ads in our campus newspaper. The Career Education Center also agreed to be a sponsor, so they paid for food, which is always a lure for undergraduate students. And the library also created some takeaways. We had pens and screen cleaners for any students that attended the sessions. So we were really trying to pull things together from the ground up. We had never worked with a Career Education Center before, but we found that it really was a really great partnership. Now they send us materials of events that they're doing, and we can help promote their events on our digital signage. They have digital signage in their office, and then we kind of conquer the rest of the campus through other ways of marketing, like student activities, digital signage, and there is like a closed circuit network of digital signage on campus. The other event we had was Money Matters for College Students, and this was a partnership with the Rhode Island Student Loan Association. They've now partnered with us for Money Smart Week for 4 years, and their programmer comes in and just does a really basic session about how do you budget, how do you save money, what is, the world going to look like when you graduate. And he's been really helpful on kind of navigating some of the students. And while the salary negotiation session had 15 to 20 students every time we hosted it, the budgeting one usually had a handful, but the feedback we got from the students was great because the presenter actually sat down and worked out a budget one-on-one with each of the students. And even though we had a small audience, their feedback was just really great, and they kind of spread the news to their friends, and we tried to have a larger turnout the second night. And so the next slide is just a screenshot of our homepage and our blog. So within the library, these are what we did to promote these materials, as we basically sent out a save the date for Money Smart Week to the student listservs. We promoted it with image on our image carousel on our library website. And I wrote a blog entry that was distributed through our Twitter and Facebook feeds for the students. And the other piece that we did that was a little bit different was we actually partnered with some business school and finance faculty, and we're hoping to do this a little bit more this year, but they did actually offer extra credit for students to come and attend these sessions, and sometimes just kind of getting the students in is the challenge, but once they're in, they find that they're learning something and they're excited about it, and word of mouth can certainly help spread. So that's what we did at Providence College for Money Smart Week. In terms of the larger Money Smart Week Rhode Island, in 2014 we had 36 programs. We were very lucky to partner with some other organizations, including our Treasurer's Department, Junior Achievement of Rhode Island, the Housing Network of Rhode Island, Capital Good Fund. We had a couple of representatives from Citizens Bank, Junior Achievement, and the Department of Labor and Training. The other piece that we got was we actually had a children's contest. So this was distributed to all the Rhode Island libraries, public libraries, and there was a drawing contest, and our Pawtucket Red Sox volunteered to hand out tickets to anyone that submitted a contest entry, and then we had a raffle at our kickoff for the first pitch. So that was one piece that we did for sponsorship. We also were able to get $500 from Rhode Island College Bound Fund, and that really assisted with any kind of print materials. We did a brochure about the 36 programs. We purchased an online magazine ad to distribute about Money Smart Week, and Junior Achievement of Rhode Island actually covered the majority of printing costs, so posters, bookmarks, things along those lines were made with their sponsorship. And this year what we did in order to kind of see where some of these organizations were and what they were willing to do is we actually sent out a Google form that was kind of like a call for participation, where these organizations could choose how they wanted to contribute. Did they want to partner with libraries for speakers and just help promote Money Smart Week? Did they want to be a sponsor? Did they want to be a gold sponsor and actually create incentives for people showing up at the library programs, or did they just want to, maybe post something on their Facebook page? So this year we're trying to be a little bit more calculating on how we get the partnership, and then we've also drafted some sponsorship letters to go out to larger financial organizations, credit unions, and organizations along those lines. So we just kind of keep gearing up marketing however we can. But those are the two things that I wanted to talk about today.
Great. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
Next up is Heather Pelham from Georgetown County Library in South Carolina. Heather?
Hi, everybody. The Georgetown County Library is just finishing up its second Smart Investing at Your Library grant, and that's from FINRA and the American Library Association. Marketing has been the one part of the grant that kept me up at night. People love free workshops that can help you save money, build wealth, send your kids to college, and retire debt-free. But getting the word out can be tough. And we had a lot to offer. We had workshops on everything from checking your credit to building a budget, classes designed specifically for kids, even giant festivals for the whole community. So we looked at what marketing had worked in the past for the least amount of money, and we had surveys at every event, and one of the questions we always asked was, how did you hear about this event? The techniques you're looking at right now had the biggest draw for us. Bookmarks were especially effective because we could tuck them into every book at checkout. We also extended our reach by offering workshops at local nonprofits. We built up a relationship with them, and they now post and email all our flyers to clients. We've been building up an e-blast list for a while. We started with our Friends of the Library members and county employees, and at every event we have a sign-up sheet for folks who would like to get an email update about library events. We have a really good relationship with our local media, and we find that even if a radio or television station doesn't do a full story on an event, they will always add it to their community calendar. And of the items you're looking at there, the only thing that cost any money was we had 11 by 17 posters made, which we get done for $1 a pop at the local printer. I saved our coolest marketing tool for last. We produce 30-second financial fitness commercials featuring local kids. And these commercials run on local cable channels, and they always give us a BOGO deal, a buy one, get one free kind of thing. And the videos get lots of hits on our website and our YouTube channel as well. But even better, the commercials are a reward for kids who complete our financial workshops. We go into classrooms and after-school programs and summer programs, and then on the first day we're there, we spend a day featuring a financial fitness class with lots of hands-on activities. The next day, we have a basic tutorial in video production, and this has never been a problem because the kids love hands-on time with cameras and microphones and lighting, and we even have this little portable green screen. They even practice interviewing skills, and they help with their commercial script. And then the third day, the kids shoot and star in their own commercial. And then we bring it back to the library and edit it, and then when it's finished, we have a little red carpet premiere, and I give all the kids the YouTube link for their spot so they can show it to their parents. And for months afterwards, I see parents sharing those links on Facebook, so we get a little more play that way. So to sum it up, we found lots of cheap options for marketing, especially bookmarks, which we just printed in-house. We got decent response from earned media like newspaper articles and radio and TV mentions, and although it was a little more expensive, using video production to promote our programs was effective but also really fun. And if you want to watch any of those, just go to YouTube, type in Georgetown County Library, and we've got a channel with all sorts of good stuff.
Great. Thank you, Heather. So I just wanted to ask the panel just a couple of questions, and then we'll turn it over for the Q&A part. So, you know, Julie, knowing your audience is a big part of programming and promotion, how do you go about identifying a topic and matching it to the right group? For example, do you start with a topic and try to find an audience that it'd be right for, or do you start with the audience and try to see what they'd be most interested in?
I think it can kind of go either way. I know when I'm doing programming for PC, I'm always thinking about the undergraduate students and what are they going to be thinking about in terms of money and financial literacy. And I often think about my experience in high school and college and like all those life lessons and, you know, what did I wish someone told me way back when. And so those are some things that I think about there. When I'm coordinating for Money Smart Week and the statewide, we really try to pair communities with speakers. And so, you know, it's kind of the role of the programmers to say, you know what, this would work in my library or this wouldn't work in my library. And that is certainly hit or miss. So I think it varies. But sometimes you have a speaker that's willing and you can't quite find the best spot for them to be. And so that's often a challenge.
Lori, what are your thoughts?
Same for us. Sometimes we know we need to fill in with a teen program. What would teens be interested? Sometimes we, on our planning committee, hear someone speak and we think, oh, that would be such a super great topic, more people should hear about it. So it's kind of a combination of both.
Great. Heather, once you plan an event, how do you decide how much marketing money and energy to put behind it?
Well, we're kind of spoiled. We've been very lucky to get 2 Smart Investing at Your Library grants, so we often had a budget for marketing. And when we did, we ran TV spots and actually paid for some newspaper ads. But in between grants, our budget is about 39 cents for marketing. So we design our own materials and print them in-house and get lots of earned media and use social media venues. So it's honestly whatever money we can find we use because there's so little.
Julie or Lori, what are your thoughts?
Same for us.
I'm sorry?
This is Lori. Same for us. When we had a Smart Investing grant, yep, we had money for advertising. Now when that money ran out, we looked to our local partners. If you're in the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago's district, which is like the upper Midwest, they sometimes have a little bit of money to help promote events during Money Smart Week, but otherwise we design the posters, the bookmarks, and we hope that other Money Smart committee members will post them in their organizations and help spread the word.
Yeah, I would say the same for us as well. The first 2 years we did Money Smart Week, we had a budget of $25 for marketing materials, and it wasn't until we were able in 2014 to just identify a couple of sponsors that would help with some of the wider state. And really printing, I would say printing is always the big one for us, and the online ads.
Okay, great. Well, Operator, why don't we go ahead and open it up for questions and see if we have any questions from the audience.
Thank you. At this time, we'll begin our question and answer session. First, make sure your phone is unmuted. To ask a question, press *1 and record your name when prompted. To withdraw your question, press *2. Once again, to ask a question by phone, press *1 and record your name. One moment for our first question. And it can take a few seconds for questions to populate our queue.
While we're waiting, everyone mentioned partners and the benefit of partners. What role can partners play? You know, is it mostly monetary, or can partners play other roles for you?
This is Julie. I think partners can definitely play more of a role. You know, certainly we relied heavily on some of our partners just to kind of generate some of their own programming. In 2014, I would say about 60% of the events took place in libraries, but the other 40% took place in the offices of some of these nonprofits. And I think that was really a great partnership because they got a little bit more of the community involved. They reached out to their constituents, but we still had the majority of the materials in libraries.
This is Lori in Wisconsin, and we have found great partners through our cooperative extension network and through our consumer credit counseling. And like the cooperative extension, they're in every state and most large, and it's their job to educate consumers. So, yeah, we let them teach. And they're unbiased. They don't, you know, they're not selling anything. But that's really alleviated a lot of the pressure off the librarians.
Great.
And I show no questions in the queue. Again, to ask a question, press *1 and record your name.
How about when it comes to measurement and setting goals? I mean, I think, you know, we all have people who are looking over our budgets and making sure that we are delivering results. How important is it to sort of set goals? What types of goals do you set, and how do you go about measuring that?
This is Heather from South Carolina. I'll say that we did set a certain number of folks we wanted at different types of workshops or festivals, but sometimes we found that in smaller areas or places or topics where you had something a little more difficult or something that was a little less appealing to the larger audience, we found that if we had a handful of people who were getting something out of it, that made us really happy too. So when we survey, not only are we obviously gathering numbers of how many people attended, but also asking them, what did you get out of it? What did you like about this? What didn't you like about this? And, we have financial fitness festivals with 1,000 people, and they're great, but I usually get better feedback from the workshops with 15 people and find out more about what people want and what they're learning and what they need to know.
We got a question from the audience, and the question is, could you recommend any materials, books, or websites that were good for inspiring, informing your marketing plan?
This is Julie. I spent a lot of time actually looking to see what other communities were doing with Money Smart Week. I remember having a really informative call with a colleague in Atlanta, just someone that's coordinating a very, very massive Money Smart Week program. And it was just really good to have a one-on-one 20-minute phone call and just say, what do you do and what's working and what isn't working. And that's really one way that I would recommend is pick up the phone and just call one of the coordinators or call someone that's been doing it for a little bit to get some ideas.
Yeah, this is Heather from South Carolina. Surfing the web, seeing what other libraries are up to. We also have a sort of nearby library. It's in the same state anyways. It's also doing smart investing things, and we bounce ideas off of each other all the time because, everything's going to cost a little something, and we talk about whether we think it's going to be worth it, and if one of us already did it, we're perfectly honest about how it went, and that's really helpful.
And same with us, although there are also some resources on the MoneySmartWeekPartners.org website. And there's an ALA list for smart investing grantees, but I'm sure you could talk to Michael Dowling and say, hey, I'm interested in financial literacy, and they'd be happy to hook you up with those events. And sometimes, at least in Wisconsin, we have a lot of different Money Smart Week planning committees, and they aren't all libraries by any means. So once a year, we actually have a meeting. It's basically a luncheon, and we just go around the tables and say, well, what worked, what didn't, where are you from, and how did things go? So it's nice to touch base.
Hi, everyone. This is Dan. One other thing I'd like to mention, if you go to our consumerfinance.gov/library-resources page, which we mentioned earlier, there's a section there called Library Programs. And there we just sort of provide some information and some ideas that you could use to develop programs around. So we don't fill in all the blanks. We kind of provide the framework and sort of let you fill in what works for your library. We also include some ideas in terms of how you could bring in partners or various partners who could come in and instruct, as well as partners who could provide help spreading the word. So take a look at that page if you're interested. And I think we have another question from our online list.
The question is, are these programs focused on just one library branch? Is there a joint effort by market in multiple branches? Edwin, who's the person asking the question, says they have 73 branches.
Ooh.
Wow.
This is Heather from South Carolina. This is Heather from South Carolina. Ours are for all our branches, but we only have 4, so I don't have a lot of advice for you.
In Rhode Island, we had, I would say, about 36 locations. They weren't within the same district, but we did create materials that we then distributed throughout the libraries. It is a little bit more complicated, and it has to be kind of general information and just to allow the programmers to put in their own information. But we've done a little bit of that, posters and bookmarks and brochures.
And this is Lori from Wisconsin, and we don't have that many locations at all. But I think you're right. How do those branches and those locations advertise their other programs? Try and tap into that. You know, where do you advertise your story times? Well, that's where you should also be advertising financial literacy programs. So, yeah.
Still no questions in the phone queue.
Okay. So what advice would you have for libraries or other partners as they gear up for Money Smart Week or Financial Literacy Month? What should they be thinking about?
This is Lori in Wisconsin. Start now. We are finalizing our events for April. So it's good to have the events set as early as possible. And it's really hard, but you just have to do it.
I agree. One of the first mistakes we made the first year we did it is we had the events kind of set on the late side, and so it really felt like marketing was just unattainable. It just felt like we were just running to keep up. The other piece that I want to mention is free online calendars, local news, local online publications. We had a colleague, just one of her jobs was basically just doing data entry on all these different programs, and these online calendars are just a lot more time-consuming than you think they're going to be. But that's one thing that I would say is not a criticism of the Money Smart Week calendar, but it would be really great if it could just easily be exported and put into other calendaring systems. And so that's one of the areas where I would say take a little bit of time and find out what are some of the public calendaring places that you can do that would kind of create a little bit more visibility.
So also, I think it was Lori who mentioned newspaper overruns and free airtime and working with media partners on radio. How do you go about making those connections, and how do you find out about those opportunities?
This is Lori in Wisconsin, and yes, we've been really fortunate that one of our local credit unions, they have financial education workshops all year long about anything from financing your car to, personal loans. And so part of their mission is education. So they're a big proponent of Money Smart Week, and they buy their annual radio spots, like they pay once or twice a year, and they have, however many 30-second spots all year long to promote whatever service or workshop they do. And thankfully they have a representative on our Money Smart Week planning committee, and they record them, they take care of all of it, and they just say, at the end, this program is going to be held at the library. We can't beat that. And they do the same thing with their boards around town, with the billboards, that they already pay for an annual subscription, if you will, to have at least one billboard around town somewhere. And so they design it, and they put it up, and we don't have to worry about it. And it's free PR for us.
Great. We have another question from the audience. Is the curriculum chosen by the library who seeks specific presenters or by the organization themselves?
This is Heather in South Carolina. We actually do most of the planning for the instructors and what will be presented, but we'll often come up with a roster of instructors and a roster of topics and let organizations that we're partnering with choose it for them, if that's what you mean by your question.
Yeah, this is Lori in Fond du Lac. We would help set the title because that's so important, as well as the brief description, but the actual presentation and details of the presentation are up to the instructor.
That's what we do as well. You know, I feel like I am definitely not the expert in financial literacy, and that's why I'm asking them to come in and do a session. So we really try to let them do what they need to. One of the things that we're trying to do is actually create like a speaker bureau that will go up on our Office of Library and Information Services, Rhode Island website, and so really any library will be able to access this list in terms of getting recommended and vetted speakers, which is certainly a concern with financial literacy.
That raises a good point. I mean, sometimes you might be, someone might come in the door and say, hey, I have this really great presentation that I'd like to give, but you might not really feel comfortable with that company or with that individual. How do you make the choice in terms of who you allow to do presentations and who you don't? I mean, what's sort of your vetting process, or what do you look at in terms of what you think would be successful in the library?
This is Julie. One of the things that we do if we're going to put forth or if we're going to take a look at a speaker is we do remind them that these are volunteer programs, that they shouldn't be expected to be compensated in any way. That was actually an issue a couple times where we found out there was one speaker that was charging the library, and we quickly intervened on that. Another thing we do is I really will just do kind of like a general Google search and just see what I can find out about the speaker. We do try to stick with credit unions or kind of larger financial institutions that have some sort of outreach program. And then the other piece is we make it clear to them that it's not to sell anything. These are objective sessions, objective topics, and we do try to send a representative from the Rhode Island Library Association to go and see the speaker at least once. And so if it's a speaker that's maybe doing multiple sessions, we do try to send in at least once to just see if they're going to keeping in line with the Money Smart Week guidelines.
We have a question for Julie. What type of feedback and support have you received from the provost and administration for this program?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I really haven't gotten any feedback. I think it's a drop in the bucket in terms of how much programming happens on our campus. I've gotten positive feedback from our library director and certainly faculty that we've partnered with. And also, I mentioned the Career Education Center. They were very happy with the way the partnership went. From, I would say, upper administration, I really haven't received, any positives. I certainly haven't received any negatives as well, and people in that office have just kind of said, oh, this sounds great, glad that you're doing it, and just kind of moved on from there.
All right.
Great, thanks. Operator, do we have any questions?
Still no questions in the queue.
Okay.
So let me just ask you guys kind of a big question, and this is always a question I always, whenever I do these sorts of discussions, I like to ask. And you guys are all very experienced at doing these sorts of programs and making them very successful. So what is the one thing you wish someone had told you when you started doing this, when you started doing financial education programs? What was the one tip or one nugget that you wish someone would have let you in on earlier?
This is Heather from South Carolina. I think it was, don't be scared of it. Just go for it. You know more than you think you know, and you definitely know how to hold a meeting. People are kind. They're not expecting you to have this giant, auditorium full of speakers who run around on stage with those headphones on or anything. They're excited to come in and get free financial information if they've come in. So just go for it. And the one other thing that really helped us was I sit in on every single one of these, and that has been not only has taught me a lot. So when our grants are done, and I've actually had to substitute a couple times when a speaker didn't show up. Just the confidence level really helps if you can go to it too, and we can all use more financial education.
This is Julie, and Heather, thank you for taking that first. I think for us, one of the things to keep in mind is when we were first brought to the table with other nonprofits and government organizations that we had never worked with before, it was very interesting to see how much they didn't know libraries did. So we really found that it was a great opportunity just to say, this is what's happening in libraries, this is how we're the same, this is how we're changing, and these are things that we do for our community on a day-to-day basis. And that's something that I never would have expected, and it's been a really great opportunity to just kind of raise the visibility of Rhode Island libraries.
That's a great point. This is Lori in Wisconsin, and totally the partnerships that we've made along the way have been really surprising, and I'm glad that our library has been open to that. I've heard of other libraries where a potential speaker will come in and say, hey, you know, I may be able to present, and we all get that at times, and we're like, who is this crazy person? You know, and yeah, you do have to vet your presenters a little bit, but people who attend these programs will quickly realize if this is a sales pitch or if this is truly educational, and they will more than likely give you that feedback. But being open to the community partnerships and being able to educate the community that this is what librarians do every day, and planning an event, not a problem. We got it covered. You know, picking out books for kids about financial literacy, yeah, we can do that. And that some people were surprised by that in our community. It's like, what do you think we do all day? So it's been a really good partnership, and I wasn't necessarily expecting that at the beginning.
Great. That's great responses, you all. Also, I would like to remind the audience that we do have a community partnership guidebook on our website. If you're interested in learning more about how to develop community partnerships in your area, we offer some tips and some guidance and some worksheets that you might find of use. So again, that's on our website, consumerfinance.gov/library-resources.
We do have a question.
Oh, great.
All right. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Our next question from the phone comes from Ava Johnston. Your line is open.
Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you to the librarians for coming on and sharing today. I really appreciate your expertise and your ideas about marketing. And my question is partially a question and partially a comment. It's a question about, I know that you are familiar with the Chicago Federal Reserve and how they have the website. There's a Federal Reserve Bank for every, the 12 districts across the country. And so I happen to work at the St. Louis one, and you're very welcome, or anyone's welcome, to go to their website and use free resources there. And we have lots of things that are great for Money Smart Week or any kind of children's literature. And I just was calling to say if you were familiar or knew that you could get free resources there too.
Oh, thank you. That's great. Thank you.
We'll be checking that out.
Okay, it's called Econ Lowdown, or just if you go to the St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank education section. And I know money is always tight. As a former teacher, I know. So there's lots of resources that you can use.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for that comment. We're actually thinking about doing a joint webinar in the near future with the St. Louis Fed, because they do have great resources on their website.
No further questions in the queue.
Okay, well, let's do one more question, and then we'll see what if we'll wrap it up from there, or if we have another question, maybe we'll have time for one more. But we've talked a lot about Money Smart Week and Financial Literacy Month. How do you promote financial education year-round? How do you look for those opportunities when it's not that week or that month? Anybody want to take that one?
Sure. This is Heather from South Carolina. We come up with hooks and cool titles and things like that. I actually came right from one of our events to this webinar, and that's a series called Lunch Money Mini Fairs. So for something like that, we actually offer a lunch because there is such a thing as a free lunch if you're doing something with your library. And we have different presenters who actually have handouts, and people can go around and talk to them and get to see what they're offering. And then these are the same folks that later on will have come back and do one-on-one workshops rather than having all of them there at the same time. And after 4 years of doing financial programming, our community has actually started looking at us as someone to provide financial programming. So our job gets a little easier every year with this. So time and patience and cool titles.
That's true. It took us a long time before our community recognized the library as a place for financial literacy. I mean, it took forever, and we're talking like 3 years or 4 years that, oh, yeah, now I can go to the library and find out about money. And we actually have our cooperative extension partner has scheduled regular monthly classes at the library. They're called RentSmart. So that has really helped. They provide the content and the instructor, and we just add it to our calendar.
I would say for us, we are just at the outset. You know, I feel like we're only 3 or 4 years in, and so that is still kind of a challenge. And so this has been really the first year that we've heard about more financial literacy programs happening outside of the month of April, which we've been thrilled about.
Well, thank you, Lori, Julie, and Heather. It's been a really great discussion, and I think you've added a lot to the knowledge of a lot of librarians and library staff out there who might be interested in doing this. And for that, I'd like to say thank you.
And thanks to the participants as well for their questions, and we look forward to continue working with you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at financialeducation@csbb.gov.
And with that, operator, if there are no other questions, I think we're ready to wrap it up.
No further questions. Leaders and speakers, please stand by for your post-conference. That concludes today's conference. Thank you for your participation. All participants may now disconnect.